February 8, 2026, the NFL Honors Ceremony is taking place in Las Vegas just hours before the Super Bowl. The biggest names in football are gathered in one room: coaches, players, executives, media personalities. And when the Defensive Player of the Year award is announced, nobody is surprised by the name: Myles Garrett, Cleveland Browns, for the second time in his career. Garrett dominated the 2025 season: 22 sacks, 43 quarterback hits, 15 tackles for loss. He was unblockable, unstoppable, the most feared pass rusher in the entire league. Offenses game-planned around him and still couldn't slow him down. He single-handedly won games for Cleveland with his ability to wreck opposing offenses. But when Myles Garrett walks up to accept the award, when he grabs the microphone and stands in front of the cameras, something feels different. He's not smiling the way he did when he won his first DPOY in 2023. He's not celebrating. He looks serious, almost somber. And then he starts his speech. He thanks his family. He thanks his teammates. He thanks the Browns organization. Standard stuff. But then he gets to the part about coaching, and the room goes quiet. I want to thank Coach Jim Schwartz. He's not here tonight, and that hurts, because without him, I don't win this award. He believed in me. He pushed me. He made me better every single day. And I just want to say publicly, whoever comes in to replace him has massive shoes to fill, because Coach Schwartz was the best I've ever played for.
The camera cuts to Todd Monken sitting in the audience. His face is stone, no reaction, but you can see the tension. Garrett continues, "I'm going to do everything I can to help the next guy succeed, but I'm also going to make sure we don't lose what made this defense great. We can't forget who built this." That's it. That's the moment. 5 words buried in that speech that change everything. We can't forget who built this. Within minutes, social media explodes. NFL Twitter is dissecting every word of Garrett's speech. Analysts are debating whether he just publicly criticized Todd Monken and the Browns front office. Reporters are reaching out to sources inside the organization, trying to figure out if there's tension between Garrett and the coaching staff. And while all of this is happening, the Cleveland Browns are in the middle of one of the most important searches in franchise history. Let me take you inside what's happening right now, because the Browns are racing against the clock to find Jim Schwartz's replacement, and the pressure has never been higher. As of February 8th, the Browns have narrowed their search down to 3 finalists. These are the names that have been confirmed by multiple NFL insiders with direct knowledge of the process. And each candidate represents a completely different vision for what the defense could become. Candidate number 1, Lou Anarumo. Lou Anarumo is currently the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been in that role since 2019, and he's built one of the most underrated defenses in football. The Bengals' defense doesn't get a lot of attention because everyone focuses on Joe Burrow and the offense, but Anarumo's unit has been consistently good. He runs a multiple defensive scheme, meaning he can adapt to different opponents and different personnel groupings. He's creative with his blitz packages, he's excellent at developing young defensive backs, and most importantly, he's proven he can compete in the AFC North, which is critical for the Browns. But there's a complication. Anarumo is under contract with Cincinnati, and the Bengals are a division rival. The Browns would have to negotiate compensation to hire him, which could involve draft picks, and Cincinnati isn't going to make it easy for a division opponent to poach their defensive coordinator. There's also a philosophical question. Anarumo's defense is more scheme-based than talent-based. He relies on disguising coverages and confusing quarterbacks rather than just overpowering them with elite players. That's different from Jim Schwartz's approach, which was all about physicality and aggression. Would Myles Garrett thrive in Anarumo's system, or would it limit his ability to just pin his ears back and rush the quarterback? These are the questions the Browns are wrestling with. Candidate number 2, Matt Eberflus.
Matt Eberflus was the head coach of the Chicago Bears from 2022 to 2024 before being fired after a disappointing season. But before that, he was the defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts from 2018 to 2021, where he built a top 10 defense and developed a reputation as one of the best defensive minds in football. Eberflus runs a Tampa 2 defense, which is a zone-based system that emphasizes speed and ball skills. It's effective against modern passing offenses because it's designed to take away explosive plays and force quarterbacks to be patient. The advantage of hiring Eberflus is that he has head coaching experience. He's been through the grind. He understands organizational dynamics. He's not going to clash with Todd Monken over authority because he's already been the head coach and knows what it's like to manage a staff. But there's a risk. Eberflus failed as a head coach in Chicago. The Bears went 14-32 during his tenure. The offense was terrible, and while the defense was solid, it wasn't elite. Does that failure as a head coach indicate he's better suited as a coordinator? Or does it raise questions about whether he's the right guy to elevate Cleveland's defense to championship level? Also, Eberflus's system is completely different from what Schwartz ran. The Browns' defensive players are built for an aggressive, man-to-man, pressure-heavy scheme. Switching to a zone-based Tampa 2 would require a significant adjustment period. Can the Browns afford that transition in a win-now window? Candidate number 3. This is the wild card, Ejiro Evero. Ejiro Evero is currently the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. He's 43 years old, relatively young for a coordinator, and he's bounced around the league holding various defensive coaching positions for over a decade. He was the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos in 2022, where his defense was elite despite having a terrible offense. He was the defensive coordinator for the Panthers in 2025, and despite Carolina being one of the worst teams in the league, their defense was competitive.
Evero runs an aggressive, multiple defensive scheme. He's creative with his pressure packages. He's willing to take risks, and he's hungry. He's been passed over for head coaching jobs multiple times, so he has something to prove. The advantage of hiring Evero is that he's young, energetic, and he won't be afraid to make bold calls. He's also not attached to one specific system. He adapts to his personnel. That means he could keep elements of what Schwartz built while also adding his own wrinkles. The risk is that Evero doesn't have the same track record as Anarumo or Eberflus. He's only been a coordinator for a few years, and he's never coached a defense with the kind of elite talent Cleveland has. Can he handle the pressure? Can he manage egos in the locker room? Can he maximize Myles Garrett's ability? These are the 3 finalists, and according to sources inside the Browns organization, the team is conducting final interviews this week. A decision is expected by mid-February, possibly as soon as February 10th or 11th. But here's where Myles Garrett's DPOY speech becomes critically important. Garrett's comments weren't just a tribute to Jim Schwartz, they were a message to the Browns front office and Todd Monken. And the message was clear: don't screw this up. Garrett is the face of the defense. He's the best player on the team. He's a future Hall of Famer. And if he's not happy with the new defensive coordinator, if he feels like the hire is a downgrade or a bad fit, it's going to create problems. According to multiple reports, the Browns front office reached out to Myles Garrett after his DPOY speech to reassure him that he'll be involved in the process. They're not asking him to make the final decision, but they want his input. They want to know what he values in a defensive coordinator. They want to make sure whoever they hire has Garrett's buy-in. This is smart, because if Garrett publicly supports the new coordinator, it will help ease the transition. The other defensive players will follow his lead. The locker room will accept the change more easily. But if Garrett is lukewarm or skeptical about the hire, it's going to create a rift. Players will question whether the Browns made the right decision. The media will amplify any signs of discord, and the entire 2026 season could be derailed before it even starts. There's another layer to this situation that's fascinating. The Browns are also dealing with the Deshaun Watson contract disaster and the potential drafting of a quarterback in the 2026 draft if they didn't already in 2025. The offense is in flux, the coaching staff is new, And now the defense, which has been the one stable, elite unit on the team, is going through a major transition. If the defense regresses even slightly, if they go from a top 5 unit to a top 15 unit, the Browns' playoff hopes are in serious jeopardy. They don't have the offensive firepower to outscore teams. They need the defense to carry them while the offense gets figured out. That's why this hire is so critical. It's not just about finding someone who can run a good defense. It's about finding someone who can maintain the elite level that Jim Schwartz built, who can keep Myles Garrett playing at a DPOY level, and who can navigate the organizational dynamics without creating more chaos. As of right now, the betting favorite among NFL insiders is Lou Anarumo. The thinking is that he's the safest choice. He's proven in the AFC North. He's familiar with the Browns' divisional rivals. He's respected around the league, and he wouldn't require a massive philosophical overhaul of the defense. But Matt Eberflus is gaining momentum. Some sources inside the Browns organization reportedly favor him because of his experience and his ability to work collaboratively with a head coach. They believe his Tampa 2 system, while different, could actually make the defense more versatile and harder to game plan against. Ejiro Evero is the long shot, but he's also the most intriguing option. If the Browns want to take a risk on someone young and hungry who could become the next great defensive coordinator, Evero is the guy. The decision will come down to what Todd Monken and the front office prioritize. Do they want continuity and safety? Or do they want to take a swing at someone who could elevate the defense to an even higher level? And through all of this, Myles Garrett is watching, waiting, hoping the Browns get this right.
Because Garrett just won his second Defensive Player of the Year award at age 29. He's in his prime. He's playing the best football of his career, and he doesn't want to waste these years playing for a defense that's in transition or a coordinator who doesn't know how to use him. When Garrett stood on that stage in Las Vegas and said, "We can't forget who built this," he wasn't just talking about Jim Schwartz. He was talking about the culture, the identity, the championship-level standard that Schwartz established. The next defensive coordinator has to maintain that standard, or Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in football, might start asking questions about whether Cleveland is the right place for him long-term. And that's a nightmare scenario the Browns cannot afford.